All right, so are you ready to dive into this?
Always ready for a good tactical deep dive.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. I think this is something that Man U fans have been wondering about, Can Rúben Amorim actually fix this defense? It's been shaky, but
Yeah.
could this be the turning point we've all been waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that their defense has been a problem for a while. Like, it's been an ongoing saga, right?
Yeah.
But Amorim coming in, that could really signal a change. And I don't think it's just about individual errors, although there's definitely been a few of those.
Oh, yeah. There have been some howlers. But you've got big names back there. Maguire, Varane, Martinez, Lindelof. It's not like they're lacking talent.
No, definitely not. The problem, I think, has been tactical instability, especially when they come up against teams that are, really high-pressing, aggressive. Think about it when your defense is constantly on its heels, reacting instead of dictating. Those individual mistakes just become more likely.
Yeah, they're constantly under pressure, scrambling to get back. Okay, so paint the picture for us then. What are the stats actually saying? How bad has it really been?
Well, their goals conceded per game. It's been way higher than you'd expect for a club of Man U's stature.
Yeah.
And their tackle success rate, just not where it needs to be. And then when you look closer, you see things like, Maguire's positional errors have been a problem.
Yeah.
Varane has struggled with fitness. And even Martinez, he's obviously talented, but hasn't quite adjusted to the Premier League's physicality, I think.
Yeah, it's a tough league to adjust to, for sure.
It is.
So basically, it's been a bit of a mess back there.
It has.
And that's where Amorim comes in, the potential hero of this story. But his track record at Sporting is impressive, no doubt. What is it has everyone so excited?
Oh, his 3-4-3 formation is what people are talking about. But it's not just the formation itself, right? It's how he uses it to create this really solid defensive structure.
All right, I need you to break this down for me. Pretend I'm sitting at Old Trafford watching this all play out. How does this 3-4-3 actually work to shut down opponents?
Okay, so picture this right. You got three center backs creating this central barrier, but it's not static. The wing backs are crucial here. They track back diligently, providing an extra layer of protection on the flanks, and you have this sort of wall that can shift and adapt to the flow of the attack.
So it's like a flexible, reactive wall of defenders. I'm starting to see how this could really plug those gaps.
Exactly, but it doesn't stop there. Amorim adds to this a high-energy pressing system. And this is where things get interesting, because it's not just about passive defending. He's got those Man U players actually hunting the ball, forcing turnovers high up the pitch.
So it's proactive defense. And you know what? That might actually be the key to unlocking the potential of some of those defenders that have been struggling. Instead of sitting back and reacting, they're on the front foot, dictating the pace.
Exactly. And it also plays to the strengths of players like Shaw and Dalot. They're natural wing backs. They're comfortable going forward. But with the cover of that back three, they could really thrive in attack and defense.
It makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. But what about someone like Martinez? He's a fan favorite, a warrior. How would he fit into this system?
Yeah, Martinez is an interesting one. He's really versatile and comfortable on the ball and could be a perfect fit. Imagine him in that back three, calmly distributing the ball or even stepping up into midfield, breaking the lines with his passing.
Now, hold on. Breaking lines, for those of us who don't speak fluent football tactics, what does that actually mean?
Basically, it's those pinpoint passes that just completely bypass the opponent's midfield. Creates those direct attacking opportunities. He's not just passing sideways. He's looking to, cut them open with those passes. And that's really crucial for Amorim's system because it allows for those quick transitions from defense to attack.
So it's not just about defending. It's about launching those lightning-fast counterattacks that Man U are known for.
Exactly. You shut down the opponent, win the ball back, and then boom. Martinez pings a perfect pass forward, and suddenly Rashford's racing towards goal. It's a thing of beauty.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. But we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, the transfer window. Man U loves a big signing. So what kind of defenders would be on Amorim's shopping list?
Well, ideally, he'd be looking for experienced specialists in that three-at-the-back formation. Players who are comfortable in that system, strong in the air, and good on the ball.
Now, wouldn't those players come with, a hefty price tag? Does Man U even have the budget to prioritize defense when they might need reinforcements in other areas too?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They're going to have to be shrewd in the market, finding players that fit the system but are also within, a realistic budget.
It's not as easy as it sounds, is it? It's not just plugging in a few new players. It's about finding the right pieces for the puzzle.
Exactly. And it's about more than just names on a team sheet, right? There are challenges ahead. Implementing new tactics mid-season That always comes with a learning curve. It takes time for players to adapt to new roles, understand their positioning, build those crucial partnerships on the pitch.
It's not like you can just flick a switch and suddenly they become this defensive powerhouse.
Exactly.
It's a process.
It is. It's like learning a new language.
Yeah.
It takes time, patience, and constant reinforcement. And then there's the whole issue of player personalities and egos.
Yeah. The human factor. Football isn't just about tactics on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
It's about managing a group of individuals with their own, ambitions and motivations.
Absolutely.
And, imagine the pressure that these Man U defenders have been under constantly in the spotlight with the fans, just desperate for a solid backline.
Oh, it's massive. I mean, when you're constantly conceding goals, it just erodes confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not just for the defenders, but for the whole team,
Yeah, the whole team dynamic changes.
It creates this atmosphere of anxiety, almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, The more you're afraid of making a mistake, the more likely you are to make one.
It's like that classic vicious cycle. But then flip that around. What if they start keeping clean sheets? What if they suddenly have this newfound defensive solidity?
That's when things get really interesting, because that defensive strength, it just breeds confidence throughout the whole team. And suddenly the attackers can play with more freedom, knowing they've got a reliable base behind them.
Yeah, they can take more risks knowing that they've got that security.
Exactly. The midfielders can focus on dictating the tempo, and a whole team just kind of breathes a little easier.
So it's not just about stopping goals. It's about creating this positive ripple effect that impacts every aspect of their game.
Absolutely. It's about building this culture of resilience where everyone's accountable, from the goalkeeper to the striker.
Everyone's on the same page.
And when you have that foundation, then you can start to think bigger, dream about challenging for those major trophies.
Okay, let's talk trophies then. Let's get specific. How could this defensive transformation actually translate into success in different competitions?
Okay, well, let's start with the Premier League. We all know it's a grind, right? It's a battle of attrition. You're facing tough physical opponents week in, week out. And to win those tight, scrappy games, you need a defense that can just shut things down, minimize mistakes.
Be a nightmare to play against.
Exactly. And, just be incredibly difficult to break down.
So those classic 1-0 wins where maybe the performance isn't flashy, but you get the 3 points.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of stuff you're talking about.
Those are the kind of results that separate the champions from the rest.
Yeah.
And then you got those European nights, the Champions League, where the stakes are even higher.
Yeah.
And tactical battles are even more intense.
Because European football is a different beast, isn't it? It's much more strategic.
Yeah.
More about soaking up pressure and hitting teams on the counter.
Exactly. Think about those, iconic Champions League knockout ties where a team defends resolutely for 90 minutes, frustrates their opponents.
They just weather the storm.
And then pounces on a single opportunity to snatch victory. That's the kind of resilience and tactical discipline that Amorim could bring to Man U.
It's giving me chills just thinking about it. But let's play devil's advocate for a minute. We've talked a lot about the potential upside, but what could go wrong? What are some of the things that could derail this whole defensive revolution?
Well, the biggest question mark, I think, is the players themselves. Can they adapt to this new system quickly enough?
Yeah, it's a big change, isn't it?
Remember, we're talking about a significant tactical shift.
Yeah.
And it's going to take time for everyone to understand their new roles, their responsibilities, how they fit into the overall structure.
So it's not like they can just flick a switch and suddenly become this defensive powerhouse.
No, exactly.
It's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole issue of player personalities and egos.
The human factor.
Football isn't just about tactics on a whiteboard.
Right.
It's about managing a group of individuals, each with their own ambitions and motivations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Amorim's got his work cut out for him.
He does. He'll need to be a master motivator and communicator. He'll need to convince some players to adapt to new roles, maybe even sacrifice some individual glory for the good of the team. Can he get everyone pulling in the same direction, united by this shared vision of defensive solidity?
It's not just about formations and tactics. It's about leadership.
It is.
Creating a winning culture.
Yeah.
Getting buy-in from every player in that dressing room.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the unpredictable nature of football itself. Injuries, suspensions, loss of form.
Right?
These are all factors that can just completely disrupt even the best laid plans.
You can have the perfect tactical blueprint, the ideal squad, but sometimes the footballing gods just have other plans.
Exactly. It's the beauty and the frustration of the game all rolled into one. And let's not forget the external pressures. the expectations of the fans, the relentless scrutiny of the media.
The Manchester United faithful are notoriously passionate, and the media, well, they love a good drama. Exactly. They'll be watching Amorim's every move, dissecting every result, and amplifying every setback. That kind of pressure can be overwhelming, especially for a manager who's trying to implement new ideas and build a new culture.
He'll need nerves of steel, the ability to block out all that noise and just focus on the task at hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if everything goes perfectly, even if the players adapt quickly and the results start coming, it's still going to be a gradual process.
It's not an overnight fix.
Rome wasn't built in a day, and a rock-solid defense doesn't just materialize overnight.
It takes time. So we need to temper our expectations a little bit. It's a long-term project, not a quick fix. But let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. We've talked about the psychological impact of defensive solidity, but how could that actually translate into tangible results?
Well, when a team has a strong defense, it just changes the entire dynamic of the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
Suddenly, they're not chasing the game. They're not constantly on the back foot. They can control the tempo, dictate the play, and wait for their opportunities.
It's almost like they're playing with a safety net.
Exactly. And that sense of security can be incredibly liberating for the attackers. They can take more risks, be more creative, knowing they have a solid base to fall back on.
And it's not just about the attacking players, is it? It's about the whole team feeling more confident, more composed, and more in control of their destiny.
Precisely. It's about building a collective belief that they can compete with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And that's a powerful thing in football.
Okay, I'm starting to see how a strong defense can be the catalyst for something truly special. But it all comes back to Amorim, doesn't it? Can he be the one to instill that defensive discipline, that winning mentality, and ultimately lead Man U back to the glory days?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? He's got the tactical acumen, the leadership qualities, and now he's got the opportunity to prove himself on one of the biggest stages in world football.
It's a fascinating challenge, and I, for one, am eager to see how it all unfolds. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about something that's been on my mind. We've discussed the tactical side of things, the psychological impact, but what about the impact on the opposition? How does a strong defense actually change the way other teams approach a game against Man U?
Oh, that's a great point. You see, when teams know they're facing a Man U side that's defensively sound, it creates this sense of doubt, even fear in their minds.
Because they know it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Right. They know they're not going to get any easy goals. You're going to have to work harder, be more creative, and take more risks to break down that defense.
So it's not just about stopping goals. It's about imposing your will on the opposition, making them play your game.
Exactly. A strong defense can disrupt the opponent's rhythm, frustrate their star players, and ultimately just tilt the balance of power in your favor. And that's a huge advantage in any game, especially at the highest level.
Okay, I'm starting to see the strategic brilliance of a truly well-organized defense. It's like a chess match, where you're anticipating your opponent's moves, dictating the flow of the game, and setting traps to exploit their weaknesses.
Exactly. It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
It's about controlling the space, forcing the opponent to play in areas where you're comfortable, and then pouncing on their mistakes. And when you do that consistently, you become a very, very difficult team to beat.
This is giving me a whole new appreciation for the art of defending.
It's an often underappreciated aspect of the game,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely crucial for success at the highest level.
All right, let's take a moment to acknowledge that while there's this wave of optimism surrounding Amorim's arrival, there's also a sense of, cautious anticipation.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of a new chapter for Man U, and there will be bumps along the road.
It's a journey.
It is.
Transforming a defense takes time, patience, and a collective effort from everyone involved. But the potential is there, and the possibilities are tantalizing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. At the end of the day, we can, analyze the tactics all we want, dissect the stats, but ultimately the success of this whole thing comes down to people.
Yeah.
The players, the manager, the fans, all working together towards that same goal.
And, maybe that sense of collective determination could be their secret weapon. It's like that us against the world mentality.
Right.
And it really galvanizes a team.
It really does.
Yeah.
And just think about the impact on the fans, at Old Trafford. When that defense is standing strong, repelling attacks, making those crucial tackles, the energy in the stadium, it just becomes electric. It lifts the players.
Yeah.
It intimidates the opponents, and it creates this incredible atmosphere that can really swing the game,
It's tangible. You can feel it.
You can.
So it's not just about the tactical side of things. It's about harnessing that emotional power of the game.
Yeah.
The passion of the fans, that shared belief that can really make a team unstoppable.
It really is. And when you combine that with a solid tactical foundation, a well-drilled defense, and a manager who can inspire and motivate, well, that's when you start to see the real potential of a team like Manchester United.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Consider the bigger picture. What does this potential transformation mean for Man U's overall ambitions? Can they finally, challenge for major trophies again?
I think, a strong defense is the cornerstone of any great team. It gives you that platform to control games, grind out results, and compete at the highest level both domestically